here with part 4 of some more of the key points that I want to talk about and things in Lauren's file in future videos. So just to pick up where I left off, I'm going to show you the report from the Victoria Pain Clinic, the one that Lauren's doctor Scruton had referred him to over and over and over again, and WorkSafeBC forced him to go to the Orion Pain Program in Richmond. So there we are, Dr. Greenwood, Michael T. Greenwood. So it says, Dear Dr. Scruton, thank you for referring Lauren for consideration to the residential program and for kindly sending along a referral letter and consultation report. He's a 35-year-old drywall who banged his head on an overhead beam on April 15, 2005, and who suffered an axial compression injury, cervical contusion, and wedge compression fractures of the T8, 11, and 12. Lauren returned to work scaffolding in retrospect a bit too soon and had a second fall September 2005. This time fracturing his right elbow and both wrists. He has gone on to develop upper back pain, bilateral arm dysfunction with painful elbow, forearms, wrists, and hand. He has been diagnosed with CRPS. Lauren presents today with pain in the following area: upper back, both arms, elbows, wrists. Associated symptoms include weakness in both arms, reduced range of motion in the right elbow, both wrists, cold and sweaty hands, burning sensation in both palms, decreased sensation in the left hand, difficulty sleeping, and cognitive difficulties. Neck and thoracic CAT scan showed minor degenerative changes of the C5 and 7 and minor to wedge compression fractures of the T8, 11, and 12. The techno scan, July 2005, showed an incidental space occupying lesion in his left kidney. X-ray September 2005 showed fracture of the right leg of the head, a slight accumulated fracture of through the distal pole and the lateral aspect of the scaphoid, and a fracture of the distal segment of the left radius extending to. So, June, bone structure happened in both arms. So, yeah, they wanted to see Lauren. I even got letters here for the Victoria Pain Clinic for like almost 2 years. Continued to try and get them into their program. Just 2 examples. We've got many more that they tried to get them in. Here is the bone scan imaging report for Lauren. Just as the fracture of the right elbow, distal wrists, bone scan, phase 2 examination had been obtained of the elbows, hands, and wrists. The patient was unable to straighten his elbow, and the view obtained of this region were suboptimal. The bone uptake of HDP is increased throughout the right elbow, wrists, and hands bilaterally. This appearance is consistent with disuse or reflex sympathetic dystrophy. The distinction cannot be readily made in view of the long time intervals since the fractures have occurred. More focally increased HDP uptake in the right trapezium scaphoid joint suggests a post-traumatic or degenerative arthropathy. So, that's good to know, But yet, WorkSafeBC, and we lost a WCAT. So, that's. One thing I'd like to talk about that I've noticed from other forums that I've been on is sometimes workers' files get sent to someone else's file, or they get mixed up and wrong shit gets sent, or they'll request their file and notice other people's file in their file. Well, I've got an example of that right here. Please note, sent in error, Stephen Hill, his account number, please destroy. But yet, still, it ended up in Lauren's file. So, apparently misfiling happens quite a bit at WorkSafeBC. A lot. What I got here is just a couple pages of our lawyer, our Linda King. She tried really hard at WCAT, She really did try hard, and I thank Shepherd Bishop and Field for allowing our bill to get so astronomically high, like $8,000. Unfortunately, we did have to pull out, due to the fact that, we obviously can't pay them. But she tried hard, she really did. And we're going to talk about Dr. Gershman and how he likes to make conclusions. So, Dr. Gershman's opinion. So Dr. Gershman is a sports medicine doctor who has been accepted and used by WCB for opinions regarding CRPS. In terms of the authority of the College of Physicians and Surgeons, Dr. Gershman is not a CRPS specialist. He had no medical history or results of x-rays, CAT scans, or bone scans when he came to the conclusion that Lauren absolutely did not have CRPS. Dr. Gershman's opinion was prepared sometime after he examined Mr. Forbes, made his diagnosis, and then received medical documents and test results to Mr. Forbes. Dr. Gershman indicated that he did not believe Mr. Forbes because Mr. Forbes was either intentionally deceiving medical personnel and magnifying his symptoms, or he had an skewed perception of his condition. He indicated that Mr. Forbes' symptoms were volatile and more likely related to his personality than his injuries. Dr. Gershman states that Lauren demonstrated weakness in all muscle groups tested in both forearms, but Dr. Gershman felt was volatile, and that Lauren had a heightened pain and disability perception, which is likely consisted with his psychometrically documented personality testing. I don't even know what the fuck word that is. Psychometrically, what is that? Psychometrically. Dr. Gershman's not a fucking psychiatrist. Dr. Gershman is not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and despite his clear implication otherwise, it must be acknowledged that diagnosis of CRPS is also consistent with Mr. Forbes' personality type anyway, given the nature of the injuries. Dr. Gershman states that Mr. Forbes has no evidence of allodynia, although Dr. Gershman admits that he did not administer the pin test for allodynia. There's no basis for Dr. Gershman's conclusion that Mr. Forbes gives no evidence of allodynia when Dr. Gershman clearly fails to provide the painful stimuli or to administer the test which is needed to provide that evidence. It should be noted that Dr. Gershman makes conclusions about changes to Mr. Forbes when, in fact, Dr. Gershman has not ever seen Mr. Forbes in the past and can make no comparisons and can draw no accurate conclusions regarding objective changes. Dr. Gershman states that there is no evidence of temperature asymmetry or skin color changes, as well as he notes that there were no hair changes or skin changes when it is impossible for Dr. Gershman to know whether any changes have occurred. After Dr. Gershman received the medical information pertaining to Mr. Forbes, he remained uninformed and unable to determine whether changes had occurred. The medical information sent to Dr. Gershman after the examination is not listed. However, the information in the WCB file, and therefore the information likely forwarded to Dr. Gershman, includes the following relevant comments from the treating physician. Mr. Forbes was a successful contractor who enjoyed his work very much prior to his injury. He did not have sweaty palms, however, after the injury he developed very sweaty palms. See the medical report from Dr. Joan Gershman. Of course, they don't bother to acknowledge her because apparently she's not qualified. Okay, so there was no so Dr. Gershman repeatedly looks for asymmetric terms in the terms of the symptoms without acknowledging that Mr. Forbes sustained fractures in both his right and left arms when he fell from the scaffolding. There is no reason for assuming that his left or right injuries would be more likely than the other side to develop CRPS. Additionally, the literature refers to asymmetry because of the fact that symptoms are relevant in both hands. So, Dr. Gershman refers to a bone scan requested by Dr. Van Setter for the stated purpose of determining whether or not Mr. Forbes has CRPS. The bone scan performed June 2, 2006 indicated that there was an increased uptake of the radioactive solution in the right elbow and both and left wrists and hand. The radiologist stated that he could not determine if the result was caused by CRPS or disuse. The bone scan results have been interpreted by the physician, who is well informed of the activity level of Mr. Forbes with regard to his right and left wrists and hands. He is a general practitioner and knew that Mr. Forbes used his right and left hands regularly at physiotherapy and at home performing physiotherapy exercise. Presumably, Dr. Gershman was provided with the physiotherapy records showing the intensive strength training and flexibility exercises that was required by Mr. Forbes that was done by Darcy at Rehab Emotions. So, you know what? Fuck you, WorkSafeBC, because prove disuse. We proved that otherwise that Lauren used his fucking arms and we still lost a WCAT. So, you know what? WCAT's a big fucking fraud. It really is. It's a fraud and it's an atrocity. And my next video, I'm just going to vent a little bit because, you know, I really need to, and there's some things that I just need to get off my chest. So
please go and have a look at that video because I'm rather pissed off.